Hello, my name is Andrea Lee. I'm an assistant professor of educational specialties at Austin Peay State University in Tennessee. And prior to teaching at Austin Peay, I taught in South Korea for about 11 years. And I have a strong interest in international exchange programs, both virtual and face-to-face. And of course, as a result of COVID, we had to get a little bit more creative with international exchange. And even though the pandemic is largely over at this point, it's still important to be able to offer some flexibility to our students who aren't able to travel overseas and still want to learn about other cultures. So virtual international exchange is a great way to go. So to begin, this presentation is going to highlight some practical teaching tips for providing English language learners with virtual international exchange opportunities. Some of these are based on my actual experiences, things that I implemented, and some are things that I just came up with that I haven't done yet, but I would like to try. So why is international exchange important? And I'll give you a few seconds to think over that. Why should we take the time to learn about other cultures? Why should we travel? There are so many reasons, of course. We broaden our understanding of the world. We learn from diverse perspectives. We learn about other education systems. When I moved to South Korea for the first time, I could tell that I was living in a little bubble in the US, and I hadn't been exposed really to the education systems of other countries. So being able to teach in another environment changed my world completely and understanding of diversity in other cultures. Of course, we can improve cross-cultural communication skills and build friendships with people in other countries. We can network with people in other countries professionally. This could be connected to careers. It could be connected to educational pursuits, personal interest and hobbies. It really depends on the objectives of your program, what you're looking to achieve. Be equipped with knowledge to enhance future travel experiences. And this is particularly helpful maybe for people who have never traveled internationally, to just get initial exposure to another culture prior to traveling. Developing global competencies and improving critical thinking skills, really learning the ins and outs of other cultures through this immersion, and increase understanding, of course, of other cultures, general aspects of the culture, both surface level and deeper aspects of culture that aren't visible. So virtual international exchange. So of course, studying abroad, going overseas, immersing yourself firsthand in another culture is an incredible experience, but realistically, we know that not everyone has the time, resources, and money to be able to do that. When I was a university student, I didn't have the time, I didn't have the money, I hadn't really traveled to many places at all. I think Canada, that was about it. But later on, when I moved to Korea, it really opened the door to many more opportunities to travel, which is why I want to promote this too. So once again, as a result of COVID, we became a little more creative with these study abroad programs. And some people, like I said, just don't have the resources to physically go to another country or the time. So some ideas for virtual international exchange. These are some things that I have tried personally, and these were implemented with the University of Seoul in South Korea. It's an institution that I used to work at. So if you have any connections overseas already, you might want to tap into those resources. So what did we do? We did collaborative teaching online with professors and teachers in other countries. I reached out to my former department chair at the University of Seoul, who's also a professor of English language. And I asked her if she would be interested in doing some type of cross-cultural exchange. So last spring of 2022, we set up a Google Classroom in which we had discussion forums and students could interact and discuss different topics related to culture. We had questions about language, university life, general cultural experiences, and who participated in this? On my end, I'm the faculty leader of our Korean club at Austin Peay State University. So we had students in our Korean club and also students in our English Language Institute who participated on our end. And at the University of Seoul, we had an English language class that was about half Korean students and half international students. So it truly was a global experience, since about half of the students at the University of Seoul came from a variety of countries. It was really eye-opening. We learned a lot of different things about different countries and customs. Another idea, creating a collaborative Q&A with classes in several countries via a web conferencing platform like Zoom. Students could ask and answer questions related to educational experiences in their home country and general cultural experiences. So this could be a 1-hour Zoom session. It could also be asynchronous, like a discussion board. Unfortunately, when I was working with the University of Seoul, we didn't do any synchronous activities because of the time difference. There just wasn't really a suitable time for everyone. So everything was asynchronous, but if that's not an issue for you, maybe doing some live activities would be beneficial. Also, have students study specific aspects of educational culture in another country and report their findings. So I'm presently, of course, an education professor, and I have an interest in exploring the education systems of other countries, but you could change this to anything really. It could be as basic as food, holidays, religious practices. It's really open. And finally, universities or public schools can create official partnerships and provide students with opportunities to take courses online. So at my present university, I helped create 2 partnerships with Korean universities, and one of them we are engaging in these virtual and face-to-face exchange activities. And K-12 schools, it might not be the norm. Maybe you don't have a way to create an official partnership, but you could also unofficially reach out to other schools to see if they might be interested in some type of intercultural project online. All right, next, these are some other activities that I thought of, and I haven't necessarily adopted these practices, but I've thought about these and how I might integrate them into future programs. Virtual tours of foreign schools, organizations, or businesses, or even videos that are pre-made and uploaded to a learning management system that everybody has access to. Having a virtual space for students to interact synchronously or asynchronously. This could be a learning management system like Canvas, Blackboard, Google Classroom, which is what I used. Participate in interactive games or activities with students in other countries, and this can be adapted based on the level of your students or the ages. And finally, combine class activities in which students complete group or partner activities with a peer overseas. And that's really flexible there. This could be a discussion board activity, maybe making a video together and merging the parts together. There are so many possibilities with this. And you could also get some ideas from your students. They probably have some creative ideas that maybe you wouldn't think of. I get a lot of ideas from my students too. This is also a fun sample writing activity that I've done with my students in the past. Write about the education system of your international peers country, and then compare and contrast the education system with your country's education system. So for each of the main paragraphs, the body paragraphs, you could look at one aspect of education. For university students, that might be tuition, public versus private universities, after school life, clubs on campus, events. For K-12, class schedules, what is homework like, things like that. You could also simply replace this with something different, something basic like food, or something a little more complex like religion. So it's really up to you, but this is just kind of a basic formula that you could use for that writing activity there. It's kind of just laid out very simply. All right, technology to use. Once again, so many possibilities. There are loads of LMSs, tools that you can use. Of course, if you want to do something synchronous in live time, I think we're all familiar with Zoom now because of the pandemic. So Zoom is great. Messenger programs. I know I work a lot with South Koreans, and the big program there is Kakao Talk. So you could have students do some type of exchange through messenger programs. Especially adult students, that might be a little more problematic with minors because of ethical issues. Skype, WebEx, Google Hangouts, etc. Also, free learning management systems like Google Classroom, Canvas, LMS, Blackboard Learn, etc. At my university, we use D2L, but I simply just made a Google Classroom. It's very easy to give everyone access to that classroom. And I didn't have any major difficulties using Google Classroom, but use a system that works for you, and you can talk with your peers overseas too to determine what methods and strategies and tools that you want to use. Other things that you might want to use: Flip, Jamboard, Seesaw, Nearpod, Kahoot, etc. So many possibilities. So this is just a little bit of my brainstorming. You can come up with ideas. You can ask your students. You can ask your peers that are overseas as well. Okay, some considerations: be mindful of time zone differences and holidays and events in the other country when planning these activities. Sometimes we don't always think through the logistics of things. Have your students learn about the culture of their peers overseas so they can better engage in intercultural dialogue with that. Maybe give them some homework activities or have them do some research individually or in groups. Discuss the benefits of intercultural exchange with your students and see if they have any ideas to improve or implement the virtual exchange program. Finally, your colleagues at work might have some ideas. So see if they know anyone overseas that wants to network or be involved in some type of virtual exchange. I've also provided some helpful resources here that I will include on a Google Doc link. And finally, if you have any ideas for virtual exchange, if you would like to collaborate on something, I'm going to include a link here to a Google Doc. And basically it just asks, do you have any ideas to add? If you're interested in collaboration, you can also write some messages there. And I'm happy to plan something with you because I think this is really exciting and engaging for students. And I benefit from this as well as an instructor because I get to learn about other cultures in the process too. So I think it's beneficial for our students and for us as educators. All right, and finally, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My name, once again, Andrea Lee, and my email address is leea@apsu.edu. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.